No, we set it.
We set our millage rate percentage?
And every municipality sets their own millage.
I thought that we set the rollback. But the
Right.
percentage too? Okay, that's the part I wasn't clear on.
Okay.
I thought that was given to us and then we set the rollback based on what we're given.
Okay.
It's 5:52.
Alrighty. Okay, at this time, we're going to call the Town of Magonia Park regular council meeting of September 19th, 2023 into session. Roll call, please.
Mayor Alberry.
Here.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Buchanan Webb.
Here.
Councilmember Davis Quince.
Here.
And Councilmember McConnell.
Here.
Thank you so much. At this time, let us stand for our invocation, please. Most kind and gracious Father, we thank you again for this day that you've given us. We thank you for all of the blessings that we've been benefited. We thank you so much for your hand because you prepare all of these things for us. We pray and ask that as we continue through this meeting that you would bless us, guide our minds and our understandings and our decisions. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. At this time, we'll attend to our agenda. And for those who are in attendance, we should have some on the back table if you want to follow along with us. There's some copies back there. So at this time, as we're attending to the agenda, are there any additions, substitutions, or deletions to the agenda?
None from staff, sir.
Okay. Hearing that there are none, motion to approve the agenda?
So move we approve the agenda, please.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It is carried. And for tonight's agenda meeting, we have no items to be that are annotated for or designated for the consent agenda. Are there any items to be considered for the consent agenda? Hearing none. At this time, we'll continue on. Our next item is is item 4 of Palm Beach County League of Cities. We'll go to a meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nice to see you all this evening. Just a reminder again, the next General Membership League meeting is next week, the 27th of September, and that's at down in West Palm Beach at the Lake Pavilion. It's 101 South Flagler Drive. And again, the speaker is Mike Asensio. He's the Program Director of Cybersecurity with FIU, and he's going to be presenting on latest updates to cybersecurity legislation. So RSVPs are required, so get those in if you plan to attend. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments for our meeting? Hearing none, we'll go now to our next item. That item is item 7A, and this is a consideration for the approval of payment to Kevin Giordano and Associates for the evaluation and assessment of the ground storage tank in the amount not to exceed $17,000. Okay, Ken?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, this is a repeat item from 2 weeks ago. So David Standby, our utility engineer from Calvin Giordano, is here again. And he talked about what it would take to do an assessment. I think everyone's familiar now with the ground storage tank at the water plant and the fact that we were talking about either repairing or replacing it. And throughout our one-on-ones and also at our last meeting, we got a pretty clear message that that replacing it would be the way to go. So David's back tonight. Certainly in the first presentation, there may have been items that weren't clear or that maybe we thought of after the fact, and maybe council's had a chance to reflect and bring up more questions, who knows, but we wanted to kind of revisit this and at the end of his presentation get some clear direction from council on how we to proceed. So, David.
Thank you so much. So at this time, we'll turn the floor over to our engineer, David.
Good evening. Thank you, David Standball, Calvin Giordano and Associates, and thank you, Ken. The purpose of my attendance tonight was just to provide some backup on what we're aiming to accomplish as part of that assessment and recommendation proposal that I provided for the amount Ken mentioned. Let me just say that this assessment, this due diligence is what this really is, would be part of our efforts no matter what. The goal here was try to narrow down the direction of where we're headed. I hear you very loud and very clear about the goals to not continue to put patches on an old steel tank that know has been problematic over the years. This assessment is obviously meant to take that consideration, replace the tank, but also to determine what volume we need at the water plant. That's one of the big obstacles here, is to determine what that is. Not sure the age, we have some old as-built of the tank, not sure of the intent of the design engineer back then, but we know what's required of us today. It's stated in the Florida Administrative Code. So part of our efforts now would be to meet with the regulatory agency to define exactly what that volume needs to be. Generically speaking, that volume has to be able to handle your peak flow condition along with a 4-hour duration of fire flow.
I'm sorry, go right ahead, David. We're having some technical difficulty.
No problem.
Okay, our apologies. Sorry about that. Sorry for the delay. It's just happening.
That's okay.
Okay. Apologies. Didn't want to take a brief adjournment to do this. Okay, I'm sorry. You have the floor. Go right ahead. My apologies.
And pardon me for repeating a couple of things. Just wanted to define some of our goals of the proposal we provided for the recommendation, assessment and recommendation. I know we listed in there considerations for repair or replacement. Those are always going to be in our ideas of how to value engineer the project and get the best value out of what we decide to do. I mentioned that no matter what, this due diligence effort is always part of our goals when we prepare a proposal. It was my decision to try to give you the upfront due diligence tasks first as a separate item, just to better educate every one of us, including myself, on what direction we need to head. That would have always been in a proposal. My goal is just to define what we do now. And I mentioned a few minutes ago that defining the volume is one of our major goals. What is required per the regulatory agency that's stated in the Florida Administrative Code? Not sure of the design calculations that were provided by the engineer, the original engineer of record, but now we have to confirm we meet it in today's condition. We are planning a meeting with the Department of Health, who's the regulatory agency over this item, to better define exactly what they're going to require of us. So no matter what, even with the idea of repair or replacement, we would have to seek approval from the agency. Like I said, our goal was try to do this due diligence phase now so that we have a good understanding and I could report back to you on what direction we're headed. Just to give you an idea, generally speaking, the volume is going to have to be able to maintain the peak hourly flow. So we go back in history, we analyze what the peak flows were in a duration. In this case, we went back 5 years. And in addition to that, the volume has to be sufficient to handle a 4-hour fire duration. So that's what we're tasked with. We have some questions. We have some clarifications on how to interpret that code that we're seeking advice from the regulatory agency on. So that's one part of it. Another part of that is we know that we have an interconnect with the city of Riviera Beach. I want to define what capacities we can rely on in terms of that as well. 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that we have a goal to replace the tank, but we have a period during construction that we have to make sure that we're still okay with. It's what do we do during that interim time, and then what can we rely on from our interconnect partner moving forward to assist us with a fire event if that happens. So all of these things are, I'm calling them the due diligence phase, but that was the scope of work, is the scope of work in this proposal in order for us to gain that understanding. Because unfortunately, I wasn't around when the tank was built. So I know I said a lot there, but I'd open up to any questions or clarifications that I could provide. That's the purpose of me being here tonight.
Thank you so much. At this time, we'll see if there's any comments or questions by council as it relates to the proposal. Any questions or comments?
We've been over this already. As far as volume, David, when we build a new tank, it's just a matter of putting 1, 2, 3, or 4 more rings on that tank for volume, right? But we still got to deal with service. Oh, that's all being done.
Well, my approach to volume is, we got some constraints at the site. So those tanks are filled by the upstream process. In this case, it's the filter. So if you can imagine the filter has a pipe that's so high, it can only fill up a tank downstream of that up to that level. So there's a constraint. We can't go 50 feet in the air. We're constrained by a height. The other constraint is the diameter. We have so much physical room on site to where we can use. And if you're familiar with the water plant, that tank is not able to physically grow in diameter. It has stuff all around it. So the best that we can do, generally speaking, is replace that tank in kind, basically with the same volume going back. That may or may not satisfy the current regulatory environment for what volume we have to hold. That's one of the things that we have to confirm. So we know that the desire is to replace the tank because it's old and has signs of corrosion. But what we don't know yet is that volume enough? If we go back and put a brand new tank in its place, is that enough? So that's part of what we're trying to evaluate. We also have a little bit of real estate vacant adjacent to the tank, to where maybe we could put a third ground storage tank there to gain a little bit more volume depending on where we land with the regulatory agency. So all of these things are what I'm trying to digest to be able to come back to you and say, this is what I recommend that we do. There's a scenario that we're envisioning, and maybe call this a worst case, but we may not be able to get the volume we need, keeping that constraint height and using every piece of real estate out there. So then what do? We could maybe build a much taller tank, but now that tank cannot be filled by the existing filter. We have to pump the water into that tank. So now we add a set of pumps. So there's some scenarios there that we're trying to evaluate which one is the best for us. Overarching is the goal to meet the regulatory agency's requirement for how much volume we have. And again, City of Riviera Beach's interconnect with us and what they can supply us is a factor there. That may be able to supplement our need for additional volume. We just don't know. But that's some of the paths that we have to go down to be able to land on the recommendation in order what to do. And then there will be another proposal, hopefully by us, but to provide you with a design service to prepare the construction documents and actually build the tank. So no matter what, like I said, this stage that we are at right now, to find out these answers, to put the pieces together to build the right puzzle, that would have been required of me no matter what. I just chose to try to break it up so that we can get it moving and try to find out exactly the path that we want to go down. Because otherwise, for me, I would have had to factor into my hours estimate some conservativeness to be able to pivot one way or another once we got to that point. So it may take a little bit extra time because it would have me coming back to you to prepare a presentation on what I recommend, but I felt like it was the most economical path to go so that we don't have to be conservative in my estimate and go down this road of option 1, option 2, option 3. We can get that decision at the end of this step.
Thank you so much. Other questions or comments?
I just need a little clarification. From what you're reporting, there's still more research that needs to be done for you to give us a complete report on what you recommend. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. Essentially, I want to meet with the regulatory agency, confirm from them what they're going to allow us to do. Ultimately, we have to submit a permit application to them, but confirm what they need, what they will require us to do. Basically, what the volume is. Mm-hmm. The second part of that, or a second part, is what can Riviera Beach, what can we count on from them, whatever that is. And then the third option is to determine what we want to do. I mentioned a few different options. Replace the tank, maybe build a third one. Another option was build a tall one and have pumps. So there's a couple of different options there that we have to evaluate on what's the solution here. So that's yes. There's more research. There's some things needed for us to evaluate which way to go here.
Okay. I was interested in finding out what it would be to install a taller tank, and you did refer to additional pumps that would be needed to do that. Are you prepared to talk about the cost factors of that now, or is that Just something you're just still researching?
Well, I don't have any exact cost for you, but we're always looking for the valued engineer approach, the most economical path. So you can imagine maybe replacing that tank is a cost, but we don't have enough volume, and now we have to put another smaller one next to it. So now you got the cost of replacing in a smaller one. You can imagine that maybe building a much taller one is a cost, but then you're going to have added cost of pumps and controls and things like that that have to be implemented to use it. So I don't have the dollar amounts, but those are the things that I'm going to present back to you. Say, hey, this cost for this option was this. It would, you know, pumps would cost this, instrumentation and electrical and all these things would cost this. That's one option. Here's another option, a tank, a smaller tank. This is the cost. So that's part of the evaluation. I'm going to come back to you, and cost is not everything. You know, it could be that cost could be less for the taller, more pumps, but that could be added maintenance. So there's always the factor of how we maintain it. It's not just a capital upfront cost that we consider too. You know, so just know that there's things like that. It's the whole to build it, but also to maintain it as part of it.
When you're talking about a third tank, additional tank to be added on the same real estate, would that also mean that I'm going to have an additional pump, or what would be the system for transferring that water? Do we have something in place to get the third tank operable? That's what I want.
So a few minutes ago, I mentioned that we have a vertical constraint, right? We have a filter that feeds the water into the tank. So the filter has a pipe that discharges at a certain level. Well, you know, it could never fill up a tank that's taller than that level. So as long as we built the third tank that's basically the same height as the two existing, then it flows as it does today. It just has a bigger buffer. It has a bigger volume there for it.
Oh, so it would be like an extension in the system?
Correct. It would be an additional third tank.
Okay, I got it.
Now, what I want to make sure I say here, I don't know that we have enough real estate
Right.
to be able to accomplish the total volume required by doing it that way. I don't know that yet, because I have to establish what that volume requirement is with the Department of Health. So there could be a scenario where the only thing that we can do is go with a taller tank that requires pumps. But until I have that conversation with the regulatory agency, I have not nailed that down yet.
Did you indicate the anticipation of that consultation with the regulatory agencies?
Yes.
You have a
Yes.
date for that already?
We have reached out to them. I was hoping to have that feedback from them before today, but unfortunately, they have not gotten back to me. So we are following up with them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman McClens?
Yes, will, a taller tank, will that be safe, being that it's sitting right in the neighborhood?
Absolutely. No matter what, either a taller tank, a smaller tank, or whatever size tank would have to meet building codes requirements for wind, for anything, but wind, hurricanes, things like that are normally what come to mind. They would be built, they would be designed by a licensed engineer to meet those loads, yes.
Okay.
Other council comments or questions? Ready? I just have a few here, David, as you were going through the presentation. Do we know, in terms of just a replacement, what the projected time would be? Just an educated guess that that one would be offline about how long?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to think back on email. I want to say that we were told it could be built pretty quickly. Just the construction, I think, was in a matter of 3 months, I believe. I could get that verification. I mentioned to you before that the tank manufacturer that we've reached out to, their name is Crom. They are actually here local. They actually have an office on Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard. It's odd, but in most water plants that I visit today in this area, they have Crom tanks. They're very well known. So they are here. They're in every plant that we know. They also provide maintenance contracts for your 5 years inspections and things like that that are required down the road. But they're here, so they're readily available. It's not like they're coming from another area or something. They can build it pretty quick. But just know that it's not just building the tank. It's preparing the site for the tank to be built. It's constructing the pipe connections and things like that. It's disinfecting it and preparing it to be placed back in service. So there's a lot more than just physically constructing the tank. That, you know, I say 3 months to build it, you may tack on another 3 months to do everything else in the pre and post construction.
So we're saying between 4 to 6 months would be
Yes,
a
sir.
reasonable time? I ask that question because, of course, if indeed we're going to be down that long, then we're also looking at additional costs because we're going to have to, at that point, purchase water in order to perhaps to make sure we have capacity.
Well, so that's a question that I'm seeking to confirm.
Mhm.
So an idea, and I'm throwing ideas at you prematurely because they still take vetting out. But an idea, if we suppose we needed a third tank, could we build that third tank first? Get that additional volume on site, and then come back and take down and replace this one tank? Where does that land in terms of how much we need to store and if we need to rely on Riviera Beach? So the Riviera Beach interconnect is not always open. So that's part of this decision too, is under a normal average day demand scenario, no fire, the town water plant and the tanks can handle the demands. In the event of a fire, we have the ability to handle that demand for so long, but then maybe there's a need to open the interconnect. So there may be a scenario where we are envisioning and preparing an emergency response scenario here with the town to where that interconnect has to be opened at some point in time. So those are all things that need to be prepared to get us to the point where we have backup plans and things like that in place to make sure that we can continue to serve our customers.
What are we running in terms of gallons? Again, an educated guess in terms of the amount of gallons we're running through that surface tank each day?
Well, right now, the plant flow, the peak hourly flow that I mentioned, we have calculated preliminarily 1,200-ish gallons per minute.
Okay, all right, thanks. Earlier, when you were giving your presentation, you made mention of the actual design cost. Now, would that cost not be the cost associated with the company itself, who's going to be designing it? Would that fall on us?
It would be both. So
Okay.
the company would design the tank, the structural engineer that was asked about. They do not design the piping connections. They are not the engineer of record for the permit with the Department of Health. That would be on us. They do not prepare the construction documents, because even though minor, there are other things going on in construction than building that tank. You know, there's a contractor that's going to put the pipes together. There's things like that that they would not be involved in. That would be my firm, hopefully, if you guys decide to use us, of course. But yes, that would be what we would be in charge of, is preparing the construction documents. That includes that tank construction piece, but also everything else.
Okay. Right, and now on the agenda, we have an amount here. Of course, we haven't bidded this yet. This is just a rough estimate of a cost to replace that we received.
Yes, sir. We reached out to that manufacturer and asked for some historic cost on that size tank, and that was provided to us.
Okay. Now, one of the things, of course, and we see it every single day when we get on the road, is that the town is growing in terms of its population. So it's always better to build for the future as opposed to the present. So presently, we're running about 1,200 gallons. We've added residents, and probably will be adding residents in the future, so the demand is going to be a little higher. That being said, of course, it would be be prudent to build for the future in as much as we're able to anticipate that. You made mention about perhaps just going with a higher tank or something like that. So that's going to be a part of the study as well, to see
Yes, sir.
what height we can go to. And
So here's where we start tying to the master plan that we've been working on. So in the master plan, we're identifying what your build-out condition looks like, what your build-out demand looks like, the vacant lots that we do have within the town, what does code allow in terms of what can be built there and what the demand of that would be. And for now, I want you to imagine a day where the highlight is not changed, because I know that's obviously a big conversation for us. Current highlight land use and things, we know that that's going to be changed, so let's factor everything but highlight. Yes, we are going to estimate the volume of that build-out condition into this volume. just to say kind of generically, because I'm not ready to get into the details of this, let's say the highlight comes online. We now have to factor that in as an extra cost that we all believe should be at least considered by the developer to do whatever else is needed to support that. So it's kind of everything but highlight, current build-out demand, that's what we're planning for. Because we don't know what the demand of the highlight, actually, that property would be when it's developed, we have to analyze that when that day comes.
Well, certainly. And one of the conversations we do have to that point is that whenever we're talking to developers, we do let them know, that as we increase the demand, then of course, push that cost off to them as well. If they're going to build it, then they have to build it. Everything necessary to support it. Okay, those were the questions I had at this point. We'll see if there's any other questions council has. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I can interject one thing. We were talking about the amount that's on the agenda. So what's being considered is 17,000 to do the assessment. And that would be to replace, we don't know the dollar figure yet, what the tank is going to cost. That's all part of the assessment. And I didn't want anyone, there's some numbers below that in our next discussion. I didn't want anyone to get those numbers confused with this, so that's a different topic. But the item under consideration is for 17,000 to do the assessment, or not to exceed 17,000.
So noted. And now, Ken, and we'll go to the floor in just a moment. In fact, we'll go to the floor and we'll come back to the dais.
Sorry.
Okay, so thanks for asking. We normally would have some out. We're going to have those out to you in just a moment. Okay, all right, thanks. All right, now, so David, what we're going to do here in this exercise real quick is just to make it simple. And so I'm going to ask a very rhetorical and simple question. If we don't do the assessment, then how do we proceed?
You have to hire an engineer to evaluate what needs to be done and include basically preparing construction documents to do that. And that's exactly what I've done. I've just broken it up into a step 1, step 2 scenario.
Okay, well, certainly. Okay, sometimes we have to just simplify things. If you don't do this, then here's the result of not doing it. So, okay, thanks, appreciate it. Any other questions or comments from the dais? Okay, if not, if we have any questions or comments out in the public, we'll take those. This is a presentation, so we'll go to the floor to see if there's any comment from the public. And of course, the conversation at this point and the agendas are coming out to you. We have a need at this point in time to replace one of the ground surface tanks. And that tank has probably been here since they built the plant, and it's beginning to fail and we need to replace it. And so all of the conversation at this point is remanded to that. So if there's any comments or questions as it relates to the replacement of that surface tank, we'll take it from you. Your comments and questions are important to us, so we want to just give you that opportunity. Okay, seeing that there's no comment at this time from the floor, we'll close the floor to public comment, come back to the dais to see if there's any other questions or comments on this item. Okay.
I guess we just need to, this is just discussion on where we are in the evaluation process right now.
This is a request for approval. It's an action item.
Approval for
The 17th.
assessment, just for the assessment. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? If not,
Yeah, the only other thing I have is are the wells in this what we're talking about? Or is that another?
The evaluation of the wells is in process. I've had the hydrogeologist out on the site recently. That is part of the master plan, and that will be something that we come back to you under that. But ultimately, all of this is coming together. So yes, sir, it is part of this.
Anything else, Councilman? Okay. Righty, so that we're clear before calling the vote, the proposal that we have before us is for the replacement of the tank. Now, we've had quite a bit of discussion. Part of that was building for the future. That evaluation for the 17,000 also includes what we're going to be looking at building out projected toward the future as well. Okay, that's correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's so noted. Thanks so much. If there's no other questions or comments. Okay, motion, please.
Now, just to make sure I'm clear, this motion is for the approval of the assessment, but not for any replacement. This is just the assessment approval.
That is correct.
That's what I was trying to make sure we have clear. Okay. All right, Mr. Mayor, I still move that we approve the payment for the evaluation and assessment to Calvin Giordano Associates, not to exceed the $17,000 limit.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you much. Motion has been made and seconded that we approve the evaluation assessment to be done by Calvin Giordano and Associates, an amount not to exceed $17,000. Any questions on the motion?
No.
Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Buchanan Webb,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis Quint,
Yes.
Councilmember McConnell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
And Mayor Oliveri.
Yes.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. If you follow along with us, our next item is item 7B. And this is a discussion regarding the repair and/or replacement of the ladder installation of the elevated storage tank as quoted. Ken?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, this item, I think most of you in our one-on-ones, we've discussed this at length. So really, what we have here is back in February or March, the Health Department, they do their annual inspection of our facility. And, you know, most everything came out in a good report. The one item they really wanted to highlight was the condition of the ladder on the elevated tank. So what we did, and this goes back to when Roosevelt was still here, we reached out to a couple of companies that we knew did this type of work. And we got two different proposals. Initially, one company sent us back a proposal just to replace it. And another company sent us a proposal to repair the ladder. So we reached back out to the first company and said, hey, you know, we've got a quote to repair. Would you like to give us a quote to repair? They said, sure, we'll do that. They came back and said that they did not feel like it could be repaired and that our best option was to replace. So what we have here, we have two proposals. One is to repair the ladder. And I will say, not putting him on the spot, but I did ask Councilman McConnell to go out. He's very familiar with these things. He does this for a living, and give his own assessment of it. So we have two proposals. One is to repair. That amount would be $40,000. And the other one would be to replace altogether, and that cost would be $121,000. So at that point, you know, there's a obvious cost savings, but at the same time, don't want to put a Band-Aid on something where you need a, you know, bandage or where surgery is needed. So if Councilman McConnell is okay with explaining what he saw, I'll let him do that.
Well, I went up there, well, I looked at it before when I was working on the tanks. The ladder going up the support column is it's in good shape. Now, the part of the ladder there's actually a platform underneath the tank before the ladder goes up on top of the tank. And that's the worst area. So, I mean, I'm not an engineer, I'm not you know, I'm just the one that goes out there and does the work. But to me, the part that's on the support column, as far as you know, my decision would be not to replace that. There's a little bit of rust on some of the brackets, but it's not really that bad. The part that may have to be replaced is the top, up at the top of the tank. right? It starts right underneath the tank, there's a platform, and then the ladder runs from the platform up to the top of the tank. And that's the part that's really bad. I don't know how it got bent, but one of the railings is bent, and you can see a lot of rust around because we got, parrots down there, with a big nest. And a lot of the corrosion is from them. So that's what I seen when I went down. But, like I said, I'm not an engineer, so an engineer may have a different outlook. And I don't know whether possibly the company that was gonna build a whole new ladder would know. There has to be a cable on there for whoever is going up and down to tie his lanyard to, which that ladder was, that tank was, the tag on it was built in 1960. So it don't have none of those safety features. And I don't know if either one of these companies even put that in the bid. I'm sure if that's what they do, I'm sure they have. But
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, to add to that, whichever direction council chooses to go, I'm going to have Councilman McConnell in communication with that company to verify and to ask some of these questions as well.
Okay. Anything else, McConnell? Okay. Other questions or comments?
Yes, have we bidded with other companies besides, this company that Southern Corrosion? Any other companies bidded for this project?
So, the H2O Towers, this is the company that painted our tower, our elevated tower, a year and a half ago. Southern Corrosion, to my knowledge, we've never had any business with them. If council decided to go the replacement route, what we would do is we would then solicit for additional quotes. But these were the first two off the top of our heads that we could, get their eyes on it.
Okay, thanks. I hope that we should, have other companies bid. You might have a better price or something, because that's a lot. I know it's a lot of work to be done, but we should have other bids and talk about it a little more later on.
On the, yes, ma'am, and on the, if council wanted to go the way of the repair only, I would feel comfortable with the H2O Towers. That's a pretty good price. They've done work for us before. And one thing to consider as we move forward with this, when the health department comes back out late winter, early spring, they're going to hope that we've got a really good head start on this. So time does weigh into it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Yes, considering what Councilman McConnell has indicated, has there been concern for, when you say repair, to do the work that he suggested, that we call that, in middle level? What did you call that?
yeah, the platform.
Platform? Is that what's considered the repair? Or what is really included in the repair of this project?
Yeah, then I would have him confirm all of that, but my understanding, after talking with H2O Towers, is there's going to be certain parts that they have to cut out, bring in new parts, weld that. That's my understanding, but certainly if we go that route, we'll have councilmen in touch with them. We'll arrange that conversation.
Okay, just want to make sure, which considering the repair, that it includes what has been observed would be essential.
Certainly.
Any other council comments or questions? Now, just for correction and understanding, we replaced the elevated tank about 6 years ago? Or was it longer than that?
Maybe it's
Longer than that?
It's been longer than that. It's probably
Okay.
at least 10.
Sorry, I thought this paint on the cars was about 6 years ago when they did it.
Well, now the paint,
Remember that.
the paint we've done recently. That was about a year and a half ago.
Okay. Alrighty, I asked that question because if it was that recent, then it would just be some follow-up questions. What type of guarantee we get? And if so, if it was covered under guarantee, warranty, is the company now out of business? Right, because it's kind of hard to understand. Or did we use an old ladder for when we put a new elevated tank? Does ladders come with the tank? So those would all be questions, but if it's been longer than that.
I have a feeling, Mr. Mayor, we used the same ladder that was there previously, based on,
That was a question that was asked, and they said that that part of the ladder, the platform and the ladder going up to the top of the tank was in fine shape, and they were gonna reuse it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the ladder that we used was just undated. We don't know how old it was.
The only new ladder that they put in there was the one inside the tank.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Two things. One is that we always have to consider safety. That's not 5 foot up in the air. That's really high. And I'm not sure what liability would fall on the town if someone were to go up that ladder and it falls, and because it's all rusted and wasn't repaired properly. So I'm not sure what our liability would be. But I would shudder the thought that somebody would actually go up there. But if indeed we have a company who has engineers that are saying that no, a repair of the ladder, platform and whatever, it would more than suffice for how long? 10 years or 5 years? And if they can't tell us, well, based upon our history and our knowledge and training and expertise, that it's going to be 10 years, if they can't give us some time, then my suggestion would be then we just go with something new. Safety is paramount.
Yes.
And of course, I know I'm the cheapskate up here, but, yeah, so you guys have said over the years. But at the same time, we have to value safety.
New tank.
So with that, comments, questions, that's just one person's opinion.
I agree, new tank. Not patch it up.
Maybe we need to find out who would do the evaluation to determine that the repair work would be sufficient to last us another 10, 12, 15, whatever years. And if we have that evaluation that kind of validates working in that regard, I'd go with the repair. But like you're saying, safety is most important, paramount. So we need to look at all those aspects as well. I mean, before we go into getting a new ladder, I think if we can do a repair that would last basically as long as the tank, well, as long as was the extent of the time frame on the tank. And we have the guarantee for another 10, 15 years. If the repair would work with that extension of time, then we do the repair as long as it's the safest route. But if it shows that patchwork would only bring more possible concerns 5, 6 years down the road, then no, I don't want to go with the patchwork that's not going to withstand the time frame.
Now, here's just a thought for consideration, that, and I know that we're considering costs. We just approved our budget, and I know that we have money in contingencies, but if we wanted to consider cost at this point, then one of the things to consider is that if indeed we have a company and they have engineers, so they'll know that if we repair it, here's what we can guarantee, that it's going to last at least this long. And if that's the decision of the council to go that route, then what we can do is just start planning now to replace it all altogether in about 5 years. If they were to say 10 years is what you can estimate, my position would be, at least my one position, in 5 years, let's just replace it and put a new one. I know that's throwing money out and so forth, but the reason for that is that we're anticipating some additional development that would allow us to budget properly. Well, I'm sorry, to budget for that. We always budget properly. But to budget for that as well in advance before we actually need it. Because right now we're looking at in the present, and if we were to look at repair costs, then we can budget for the future, if you understand what I'm saying.
So it's
Just a thought.
Yeah. It's an old saying, do it right the first time, you don't have to do it over again.
Sure.
So I think it just needs to be done right. Just do a new one. No sense of patching up, putting a bandage on it, because bandages come off.
Okay, and very valid point in my earlier position. Now, this is, of course, is a budgetary issue, and I'm not sure how we without looking at the budget sheet again, so I'm not sure how we budgeted. So what we can do, if indeed it's the position of the council, that we look at replacing it all total, then of course it goes out to bid and whatever that is, and then we come back, and if that information comes back stating that here's how much it cost, however, budgetarily, here's where we are, then we make a decision, and as much as we can, as quickly as we can, because I know the DOH is on it, Department of Health is on it, so. Right. But just whatever your direction is and your position is as a council. Okay, any other council discussion? Okay, if not, okay. So do you want to provide direction to the town manager in terms of how you wish to proceed? It's a discussion item.
Okay. Well, if I may, I would like to see the evaluation to determine the repairs that are being suggested as to what their expected outcome would be. If that's going to be a 10-year guarantee on the repairs, then I'd say we could go with the repairs and then plan for the new complete ladder. I don't know if we need to look at a new tank at another 10 years. I don't know, what is the guarantee on the tank that we did put in last? We need to get that detail. I would love for it to coincide with the complete project, if we're gonna go with a complete new ladder.
Well, the thing what we need to do then is, you know, if we're gonna go, if we're skeptical about repairs, then we get an engineer to come out here and tell us, no, you just need to replace the whole thing.
That's true.
Or yes, it can be repaired.
Okay.
I mean, it's steel. Steel don't change that much,
That's right.
especially in the situation that one is. All you got with the steel is if you keep it painted, keep the corrosion down, the rust down, it can be there. It's already been there since 1960.
It's a long time.
So, I mean, if that's what you want to do, you just get an engineering company out here to tell you, yes, you can repair it, or no, it's got to be taken down.
I agree, engineer.
So a question that, and maybe Kevin, maybe our engineer would know, for a project such as this, I would imagine that an engineer is normally involved, and a structural engineer, that based upon various factors that this is what you could expect, so this company would have employed an engineer?
Are we referring to just the ladder?
Just a ladder.
A lot of,
Traditionally.
I mean, I don't know the company, so I don't know if they employ structural engineers on staff or not. But sometimes ladders are designed by other companies that they buy from, that they're already designed for every ladder in the United States or something like that. As long as they're built and connected this way, then they meet certain structural requirements. So there are structural engineers that design those, but they have to analyze all the loads, similar to what I mentioned on my topic. But I don't know that you're going to have a structural engineer that's going to go up there and say, that rust looks so bad, it needs to be replaced. I mean, I think generally if it's of the age that we're talking about here, and maybe not meeting the safety requirements that was mentioned, that would be of today's standards, then oftentimes I would see decisions being on replace and not repair.
Okay.
The storage tank, I was not involved. I was trying to look it up as you were talking. I didn't get there soon enough. I believe that elevated storage tank was built in '09, if I see correctly. And I believe there was a grant that the county was involved with that process at that point in time.
Yeah, it was a county piggyback.
Yes, sir.
Because I went up there with a county inspector, and they came out too to inspect it.
Okay, and I'm definitely going to defer to you, because you were up there, but for some reason it seems more recent than that. I guess time flies, as they say. Okay. All righty, so what is your pleasure as it relates to direction that we can provide to the town manager? How would you like to proceed?
I think we need to, discuss it more, try to find bids of different, companies that can come out and bid and give us a better price. I don't think we need to patch it up, but I'm not an engineer. I think it's something that is so old that it does need to be replaced. But we all need to discuss that and come to an agreement. How do you guys feel?
Okay, so Councilwoman Quince Davis, your position would be new? Because
New.
if we decide whether replace or renew, then we can have all of that information.
Yeah, I would rather
new?
do it right the first time. We don't have to do it over again,
Okay,
you know?
okay.
If you
Vice
keep
Mayor-
patching, you're gonna have to keep patching.
okay. Vice Mayor Johnson, what would be your position?
And did you say with that consideration would include the evaluation?
Well, we'll get all of
Engineer?
that once we decide whether we want to pursue repair or renew, or new. So which would you prefer that we pursue? A repair or replacement?
Well, financially, I would consider the replacement as long as safety, all the safety issues are in place and the engineer would give that evaluation if that be sufficient. I do think we should have had a new ladder placed with the new tank. But since that was not done at that time, what's the time frame we have on the tank that we have? What's the guarantee left on that? Can we put this information together to give it a proper balance, is what I'm concerned about.
The thing about when we piggyback with the county had a lot to say about what was going on with that tank.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a repair. That wasn't considered a new tank. They fell under, if you would have put a new tank up there, you would have had to replace everything from the ground up.
Oh, okay.
So they decided, county engineers or whatever, whoever, to leave it as a repair, not a new tower.
Right.
Oh,
Now, if I'm
okay.
not mistaken, we actually did put a new tower up, because I stated time and time again, the one that's there looks smaller than the one
No,
that we
it's
had previously.
the same one. Because they left the base plate up there.
Mhm.
That's a problem I had. That's why I
The
went up there.
legs. Mhm.
Is because they left the base plate to the tank
Mhm.
in place on top of the pedestal and put the tank on top of that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure they got rid of all the rust, because that plate up there is almost 3 inches thick.
Yeah, that's a lot of weight. Okay. Alrighty, so then, so we have your position, and your position would be that we pursue new or a replacement?
Repair.
Repair? Okay.
I'll
Councilwoman
recommend
Webb.
that we wait for the evaluation, and either way, based on the recommendations, we should still go new, because there's growth within the community, and there still will be growth, and either way, I believe if we were to replace it, we're gonna end up spending double times, because you don't know what's gonna happen down the road. So it'd be better to just go new and get it done and over with. While I understand that there is, the monies probably won't be there, it would be a matter of trying to figure out what can we do differently just to get the new one. Because say, for example, we add 500 more residents, it's going to be more pressure and just more of everything, and it's going to be overworked. And then if you patch it up, like Ms. Quinn say, you're probably going to end up spending more in the long run. That's just.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I say wait for the
Good.
evaluation and go new.
Okay. Alrighty, I was hoping we would get consensus one way or the other, since we don't. So then the direction that we're providing, so that I'm clear.
Oh, I'm
to
sorry,
the
and then
town-
getting bids, other bids from somebody new.
Okay. So the direction then we're providing to Ken and of course associated parties to be involved would be that we get bids on repair and replacement. Okay, and then of course, and you'll let us know what the budgetary impact would be to pursue one or the other. Okay, is that clear? That's what we're
That'll work.
providing? Okay.
As long as it
Yes,
includes.
Mr. Mayor. I also heard something about evaluations,
That's what
so.
I'm saying, as long as it includes
No,
evaluation.
we're only talking about the ladder at this point. One would think that's all part of the process.
Oh, I was
Yes,
Right.
I'm talking and the inspection to identify whether the repair would be sufficient for the ladder.
correct.
Instead of replacing the entire ladder.
Right, which is all part of the scope of service when they come to replace or repair.
That is part of their service? Okay, that's what I want to make sure of.
Yeah, so they'll be coming back with whatever evaluation based on, that's what I mean.
Okay.
Not going out there and hiring,
Alrighty, so we'll get that going because time is of the essence, so we'll get that going and I'm sorry, Amitty had something as well.
Just for clarification, since this is discussion, if you need additional information, is their action tonight, is it a motion to table to bring back that additional information based on the direction that you're giving the manager?
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Yes,
Would it be officially tabled?
yes.
Yeah, that would have to be done by motion, but if that's
Okay.
the direction of council, if you need more information, that would probably be the proper way to go.
Okay, righty, so at this point in time, have we had full discussion? Okay, I
Yeah.
think we have. So at this point in time, we'll entertain a motion to table item 7B.
Mr. Mayor, so move that we table item 7B.
Okay, motion has been made to table table discussion until a meeting time to be set by the town manager. Is there a second to that?
I second it.
That's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It is carried. Thanks so much. Our next item is item 7C, and this is a request for approval of outside storage application number 2023-01, and this is Pierre Mintford. Is the applicant present? Okay, we'll just have you come to the podium and just state your name and address for the record.
Mr. Mayor, while he's coming forward, we'll tell council on your tablets, you do have a copy of the application and a picture of his trailer that he's using, and staff has verified this trailer he's using for his company, and we notice that it does leave every day and comes back. So it's not stationary, it is going and then coming back, for the record.
Okay, thanks so much. At this time, we'll turn the floor over. And again, just state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my address is 4800 Jeffrey Avenue, and Jeff,
Your name?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry. Okay, we do have the application before us, but what we're going to do is allow you to explain, this is what I'm requesting because, and I'll turn the floor over to you.
Yes, I've turned my application and it's for the home occupation license. So I don't do it that much with my companies. I try to build to help my family, myself. So I don't have any that much customer. That's why the trailer is stay, I don't using keep out and in and out because I don't have that much customer to doing something.
Right, we do, and we'll have some questions in just a moment, but we do have the application before. So what you have the right-hand lawn mower, one push mower, a blower, and one
Yes, a
edger.
blower and
Weed eater.
one weed eater, two weed eaters and one edger.
And 2 cans of
Yes, two can gas.
one shovel.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and you used all of this in the commission of your occupation, your job.
Excuse me?
So you use all of this in your landscape?
Yes.
Lawn service?
Landscape.
Okay. All righty, so let's see if there's any questions or comments. We do have your application and your pictures. We'll see if council has any comments or questions.
I don't have any, I already reviewed the application and drove by and seen what it was like.
Okay. Any other council comments or questions?
I hope y'all approve that he can keep it there.
Yeah, so it just seems to be appropriate from what I can see.
I mean, I said he don't have much money, so.
All righty, so while the rest of the council is collecting their thoughts, the town manager stated that, so, and I'll let you explain it to us, so each day when you go out, you hook this up to your truck or to a car, some automobile,
to my
and you
truck,
take it
yes.
with you, and
To my
then
truck.
at the end of the day, when you finish, you bring it back and you
Bring
park
it
it
back,
there?
yes.
Okay, so it's not stationary, it comes and goes every day?
Every day you have service to do, yes.
No, when I got some to do it, I'll come, pull my trailers out and come back and put it someplace.
Mhm.
so
Okay.
not every day.
Okay. And from the picture, it's parked on the grass on the side of the house? That would be
Yeah.
correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I got a picture.
Yes, we have it here.
Oh, you got it?
Yes, we have one here. Okay. All righty, so other questions or comments? Okay, if not, then we'll go to staff again. You have
No.
anything?
Mr. Mayor, just a staff recommendation for approval.
I approve.
Okay. All righty, and with that, let's go to our attorney to see if there's anything that she has as well.
Nothing, sir, thank you.
Okay, seeing that we've had full discussion as it relates to, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, point of order, just a point of order. Okay, so as it relates to the item, you have before you this application for outside storage submitted to us by the applicant. If we had full discussion, if there's no other comments or questions,
Mr. Mayor, so moved that we approve his outside storage application.
a motion has
Second.
been made and seconded.
I third. That motion leave me alone.
So motion has been made to approve the application before us, and that is to
Can you tell
allow
me who seconded that motion?
Sure.
McConnell.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, and this is application number 2023-01, granting that permission. So roll call, please.
Councilmember Buchanan White?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis Clint?
Yes.
Councilmember McConnell?
Yes,
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
And Mayor Alberry?
Yes.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. And, okay,
Thank you.
And feel free to remain with us for the rest of the meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thanks so much.
God bless you.
So at this time, that's all of the action items we had, and we're going to open the floor now to public comments. If there's any comment from the public, we'll take that now. And we ask when you come up to just use the mic and state your name and address for the record. Yeah, thanks. Any public comment? Okay, seeing that we have no public comment here, and
None.
anything that has been discussed
Even
or?
if you want to sing
Yes.
us a song.
Okay. Sure,
Sure.
the
Yes,
floor is
you
open
may.
to whatever your comment is. Okay, most certainly.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, good
Good
evening.
evening.
My name is Lydia Scott, and I'm a resident of Tiffany Lakes. And I've been there for about 20 years now, and I apologize for not being active in coming into the council meetings, but at some point, it was like, what's the use? Okay, but and I know that was just, off the head. But my question is, as far as the council is concerned, what is your concern for the citizens of Tiffany Lakes, besides seeing council members that need to be reelected, going knocking on doors, and asking us for your vote? What do you offer the association, our residents where we live?
Sure. And that's a legitimate question. I'm going to allow council out, and I'll just, so that we stay organized, I'll just start here and then we'll go down. Councilwoman Webb?
Well, it's to my understanding that we're limited as to what can and cannot be done. One of the things I try to do is to make myself available. There are many things that are available to the residents, but the residents don't really come, even when we're going out there to the residents. Take the youth council and Christmas drive and summer camp, for example. We're knocking on doors and putting applications out for them to come for free services, and they still don't show up. We've gone and even helped residents to fill out applications and drop off gifts because they still don't come and pick them up. And we can't just go and pull them out. Yes, when it's election time, we'll come and knock on doors, but we do the same thing for other events. Whether it's seen or not seen, I'm not sure, but I myself and the youth council have gone out on numerous occasions. And I always have an open line of communication. I'm always available.
Okay. Mayor McConnell? To her
well, other than what Kalisha just said, we make sure you have police, fire, make sure you have water, we take care of the roads. take care of the infrastructure of the town, but as far as coming into your residence, that's not our job.
So why are we part of the city, part of the town then?
Well, if you wasn't part of the town, then someone else would be supplying your police, fire, water, sewer, and all those things.
Okay,
No.
another question I have. Go
Okay,
ahead, sir. I'm
we're
sorry.
gonna try and give you a full answer to the question, because it's an important question.
It is
Vice Mayor?
important. And I know, it's been a while since I've been door to door, but I have gone door to door, especially, at times that we have events and trying to encourage people to come out to participate. It takes, an invitation for us to go into your, what's the word, association meetings. We can't go in there unless we're invited to participate. I have been invited twice, and I have gone to those meetings, but it's been quite a while. Now, last year, or maybe earlier this year, we were invited to a legal review of some of the concerns that the residents were having, and we did what we could to give input and access for those issues to be reviewed and even resourced as to other things that can be done to help you get the fairness of your concerns. And we are still concerned, but we don't really see anyone coming here or inviting us out there. We can't really just, take it upon ourselves to go and find out what you're doing in your meetings. That's not what we do, but we will support what your concerns are and get the best clarification and added resources that we can provide.
Well, hello, how are you? How you been? I kind of knocked on your door, that's why you talk about me. Well, we have senior programs that I pushed from the day I got here. And I don't know if you've been to any of them. They're doing a great job with the senior programs. I've been invited to your associated meetings, and I've showed up with Addie Green. I've been to several. I know what's going on inside Tiffany Lakes. I know, the inside story of what's going on and how you guys are fighting to keep your units. I'm quite aware of what's going on. I know you guys are still in the court battle. You've lost the first one. I know you have another one coming up, so I've been keeping up. So I do try my best to show up at the meetings. Ms. Addie Green always keep me posted as what's going on, and I'll pick her up and bring her. So I am very concerned about what you guys have going on in Tiffany Lakes, because it's really not fair what you're going through. And I hope you guys win that second. Y'all have a courthouse appearance coming up. And I'm praying for y'all, because I know it's been a battle.
It's been a battle.
Oh, yeah, it's been a battle.
Okay, in terms of just, what we as a council can assist in?
Yeah, I'm gonna get there.
Okay, but
Let me
that's
get
not.
I gotta talk about what I've done.
Okay.
She asked what we had off, so we as council, you're trying to straighten me, but let me finish. No, don't interrupt me. I got this. So that's what I've done personally. So as council, we're always here present. Anytime you need us, or whatever it may be, the mayor's always available. Ms. Metcalf, Sherry, the clerk, everybody's available to you at your service. If you need anything, have you come to anyone and said you need anything?
Yes, I have.
And you didn't get any help? Because I know Mr. Metcalf, normally if you ask him, he'll jump at it, I can say that. But anyway, as council, we're here for you, and I am concerned about what's going on, and we all are concerned. So, yeah, so I just want to say but yeah, we're concerned
It's
about
been a
what's going
battle.
on.
It's been a battle, and another concern that I do have is the lake.
Right, I asked about that
I
too.
live right in front of the lake.
It needs to
Right.
be cleaned out.
It's,
It's falling apart.
I mentioned that.
well,
It's
one,
coming from the foundation. The wall has come from the earth.
mhm. We're in the middle, and I'll just give my 30-second response, and then we'll go to town manager as it relates to that and what we're trying to do. But one of the things to answer your question directly in terms of just what we're doing, and particularly for the residents in the Tiffany Lake Catalina development, is that, as was stating, one of the things that we do, of course, as legislative members, is that the welfare and the safety of our residents are our main concern. right? That's the main charge that we have. That includes making sure we have proper law enforcement. And if things go awry, then I'm sitting down with the captain and saying, hey, listen, what's going on? And if not, then we fly up the flagpole to his boss sitting next to him, Major, how you doing? And to make sure that we are protected and safe. We make sure that we try and keep our millage rate low so that it doesn't affect you financially, and try and keep that, and we just approved that, to keep that financial burden off of you. We went through that whole budget session to try and we actually ended up lowering the water, that's to come. And that's to come.
Yes.
All right. Right. And so we're always looking at, in short, we're always looking at how can we what decisions can we make that positively impact, not negatively impact our residents, because that's who we are, right? It was stated as well in terms of just socially, what are we trying to do? So we implemented a program. We've sort of worked with all of the numbers, had some brain exercises going on. How can we reach out to our seniors? And so we started that program. One of the other things in terms of, to your question, is that we at least have a line item for it, and then I have a letter in front of me to try and solicit additional dollars, so that as I'm going door to door, as I'm doing now, to all of our seniors and our widowers, what are your needs? Right, and I've said before, if you got a husband and a boyfriend or whatever in your house, don't call me, right? Because we need to get to these residents. And so hopefully that money will be coming, and so that if there's some minor repairs in the house that you simply can't afford, we have all things set up so that we can do that. What we do need, however, are responses from our residents, response in that, here's my email address, my telephone number, so that we can contact you. We're implementing now a system where, text thing, so that we can send out text messages. Here's what we're doing. Come to us and let us know what you need so that we can do it. There's other things, but it's, so every day, you know, that's one of the things we attend to, and we come together. We have to do it in the sunshine. Then we discuss how can we positively impact our residents within the constraints that we have. One of the things we wish we could do is go to every private resident and then use the monies that we have to do things, but you can't use public dollars for it. So that the situation, and we can't speak to, you know, legal, so the situation, we're aware of it, and every fiber of our being, you know, wanted to kind of, but that's in the civil arena, and so we could not, because again, it's private property.
Yes,
And, so.
And I really appreciate that, and I have been supportive with the town as far as,
Yes, you have.
especially Ms. Sherry, she's been awesome with.
We were going to fire her.
With, you know, making sure that the
Okay.
kids, you know, special things that are going on, she would call me personally, and I really appreciate that, you know, so, but I just want to also just make a statement about the lake. You know,
Yes, I'm sorry. Ken, my apologies. Okay.
Good evening, Ms. Scott.
spoken about it before.
We, on a few occasions, yes, ma'am, and I think the last time you and I had a conversation about that was when I said to you at the senior event that anytime there's a development application in front of the town, that the citizens that have a concern about that lake, especially the seawall in particular, is what you're referring to.
The overgrowth of the vegetation, you should see it. It's
Okay.
just taking over. You can't even see across the lake because of the vegetation, you know?
So anytime we have that application in front of town council or town council, that is a good time to come and say, but what about the seawall? And I can answer to that the town has made efforts with anyone that's doing any development on the lake. They're gonna, even if it's a new development or if it's gonna be a major renovation, they're gonna have to repair their section of that seawall. So we have done that.
Yeah, but that's not helping the whole situation.
I understand that, and that's why I say to you again, anytime, like I told you the one time back in May, that we were having a developer that was approaching the bioscience overlay about that meeting, and I did encourage you to come and speak about that. So that's, now, if there is a big mass repair of that, that's going to take a joint collaboration of everybody involved with that. The town doesn't own the lake, and the town does not own the seawall that goes
Nobody
around.
knows who owns the lake. That's the problem.
We have an opinion on that.
Yes.
So, but we,
As a,
I've been there almost 20 years, okay, and I have not seen anything. Nothing, no repairs, nobody come out, nobody cut nothing off. It's just there.
I
so
don't-
there
I don't-
is a repair that's been made with the new building across the street.
Yes.
But you said no repairs, so there has been that done.
Let's do
Where
this.
it's coming from the earth.
Right, but,
Somebody needs to come out and look at it.
right.
Code enforcement.
We're, right, let's do this. We're part of the PCC, so I'm going to go to our attorney, because I know we've had discussions and such as it relates to responsibilities and so forth, so I don't want to speak
So,
out of turn. So,
right, there's responsibility on both sides, on the residential POA and on the commercial POA. The problem is that everyone points fingers at the other party and doesn't want to take responsibility. But as Manager Metcalf said, it is not the town's responsibility. The lake and the seawall was approved as part of the development order that was approved for both sites, the commercial site and the residential site. As Manager Metcalf said, we have an opinion about who's responsible, but ultimately it's not the town. The only responsibility on the part of the town is by virtue of our involvement, or the town's involvement in the Central Park Commercial Property Owners Association. So,
So that's why it's the way it is then.
right. No, let's just say, just hypothetically admitting, and I want to, since you're the attorney, right, if indeed a lawsuit would happen, would we be considered an injured party, that we can participate? I'm just trying to.
you can
make
enforce
sure.
your rights because you're a member of the Commercial Property Owners Association. So you can enforce the declaration of covenants for that POA itself. You can't enforce Tiffany Lake's declaration. That's not, because you're not a party to it, and you as the government can't enforce private covenants.
Okay, so you see our quagmire. Okay,
Excuse me,
all righty. Okay,
I have a question. We're not able to find anyone about that lake because it does need to be fixed.
There's a long history with that lake. There have been code enforcement cases, there have been lawyer meetings, there have been lawyer letters, there have been demand letters. There is at least probably 12-year, 13-year history. But at the end of the day, the town is not responsible
Right.
for repairing the lake. The associations, and by virtue of the associations, the members of those associations are responsible for paying dues that pile up that go to fix the seawall.
Yeah, I understand that. I just want to know, is there anyone that we can find that maybe that can help people move along? Because if it's just piling up, you're not putting any fines down, people not gonna move.
One suggestion I would have for this woman is to speak with your POA about it, because they're responsible. If you're concerned as a resident of that POA, you pay dues to an association that's supposed to be helping maintain the seawall that abuts your property. So don't always talk to the town, don't only talk to the town, talk to the POAs also, because they're responsible as
I
well.
have done that, and they don't want to take part of any concern with it. They say they don't own it either.
That's, I hear
No,
you loud and clear.
You know, one of the things I guess we can do, well, not guess, that we certainly will do, and now providing direction to the town manager, to contact all of the agencies, and because now, if indeed it becomes a welfare issue, a safety, health issue, then of course we contact those agencies to let them know. We send photos and everything else, and try and get them involved. So we
I would really appreciate it, because like I said, the wall has come from the earth.
Now,
And if we get a major hurricane through here, it's gonna be bad.
right. Now, that part of it, I'm not sure, but the growth part of it, what is the local entity?
There's a water management district
water
permit
management district.
for the stormwater retention of it, which I presume would speak to the vegetation. I have not personally seen the vegetation that you're speaking of, but we'll report to whoever we need to
Okay,
if
so
there's an issue there.
Okay, thanks. So we'll
I did
get with
speak
all of those agencies.
Mr. Scott a few days ago, and he
Okay.
said he would see what he could do, the code enforcer. I
Yeah.
did speak with him.
We'll try and put our shoulders behind it
Well,
with
thank
those
you.
agencies
I really
and
appreciate
see
it.
what
It
can
would
be done.
greatly appreciated,
Oh, certainly.
and I will attend more of the meetings to
Okay.
find out what's going on, and not just say, okay, forget it.
No,
Just throw
don't
your
ever,
head-
no.
Well, for years, that's what I did,
Uh-huh.
because nothing was being done.
You come in here, you beat on us until it gets done, okay?
Well, I really appreciate it, and thank you for the time.
Oh, certainly.
I really appreciate it, and I'll be back.
Thank you for
Okay,
coming.
we look forward to
When
it.
voting comes around again, I'm gonna continue to vote.
Thank you.
Thank
Wonderful.
you. Oh, there
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go. Mr. Kelly, you had your hand up? Okay, all righty. Any other public comment? Okay, yes, just come forward, please.
Marcia Wright,
Good
I
evening.
live 5701 Candlewood. I'm not commenting on her concern. I am commenting on something that I had brought up a few years ago. And that's Giller, a speed bump on Giller. I mean, the speeding that goes down that street is like a racetrack. And we're getting more and more children that are in the neighborhood now versus when I first moved over there that are in that area. And truly, they need some type of speed bump. And I'm just requesting that y'all look into that.
Okay, we can, Ken is happy to, I was going to jump in, but
No,
I'm going
you
to let
go
you.
right ahead,
Nope,
sir.
nope, I
I'll
don't want
let
to steal
you-
your thunder. Go right ahead. Okay.
So to respond, we do have in the budget that the council just passed, there is some money in there for speed bumps. What we would like to do is get with the PBSO and also the fire department and let them weigh in on, we certainly wouldn't put a speed bump anywhere that was contrary to what PBSO, would desire. So we're going to let them weigh in on it. There's been a couple of suggestions already, and not putting the captain on the spot tonight, but there is money in the budget for some speed bumps.
Yes. Okay, certainly. Righty, any other public comment? Hearing none.
Just,
Okay, motion, at this time, then we'll end the public comments, and we'll come back to the dais.
I have,
I'm sorry.
oh,
I just wanted to make a comment in regards to the
Okay.
concern that you brought up about the speed bump. That has been a concern of mine for almost 8 or 9 years, that certain areas that need speed bumps, and I've made recommendations for let's look at speed bumps to be placed. So I'm glad to know that we can move on it now. It's been in consideration for quite some time. So it is now budgeted. So we will see some action, and we'll definitely make a consideration on Gillard, because I think it's necessary as well. Thank you.
I think so much. So at this time, we're going to go to our departments. Ken, you have anything?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council and citizens, I'll be brief. Good to see everyone tonight. Just want to thank staff and council for your hard work on the budget this year. I haven't counted up how many workshops we had, but it was a bunch, and I appreciate everyone's consideration on that. I think we have a good budget that everybody says this. There's something for everybody in that budget, so I stand behind that. Our prayer walk is this Saturday. We'll start walking at 7 a.m. We're assembling in the same location right in front of Engrafted Word and that area there at 1233 45th Street. We have a van this year. Here's one thing we've done. We purchased a van to transport people, and so for the people that are walking on Saturday, we'll be able to get them safely back to the place of assembly. At our previous meeting, we had complaints in reference to loud music coming from the park and from other areas, and we've taken some steps administratively to what we think will help prevent that moving forward. One thing we're doing, we're looking at all the rentals at the park. We're going back and calling these individuals and emphasizing the need for no loud music and some other things as well. So we'll keep you posted on that, and we'll be closely monitoring that. We also had some concerns about short-term rentals, and that is the correct label to put on that. There's different companies. Airbnb is one of them, but for short-term rentals, we've had some concerns. This is something the attorney and I have had a lot of conversations going back many months, and we hope to have some options in front of all of you in November. We're to meet one more time and cut and paste some things that the attorney has gathered from other municipalities. We hear everyone, we know the concerns. One thing I've got to say to everyone, just so everyone will know, that it's not a situation typically that you can deny it. Someone made the statement one day that you should just not allow that. And state statute basically says that if you didn't have anything on your books by 2011, now you can't come back and put something on your books that would prohibit those. So they're treated the same as regular rentals. The attorney can weigh in, but we'll bring something and have a good discussion on that and give everyone some options on what we can do, what limitations, what we can do if there's continued problems, traffic, noise, that kind of thing. So we hear everyone on that. We're aware that's a concern, and we're going to try hard to address it to have everyone satisfied on that the best we can. Also, in October, we had discussions several months ago, and we've had some discussions internally among the staff about the fence ordinance. So we're going to be bringing back, we did present this to council at one point. We did get some feedback. We're going to put that feedback in place and bring something back for you to consider moving forward. I want to wish Mayor Alberry a belated happy birthday. I did text him yesterday when it was his birthday, but happy 37th. And,
Okay, I pulled this leg. I'm actually 45.
I knew there was something wrong with that.
And some years of experience. How's that? Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And I don't want to be melodramatic or anything, but I do want to thank council. On the 21st is my 8-year anniversary here. I'm enjoying it. I'm very thankful to be your town manager. I hope that shows. I'm very grateful to all of you for having me here. So thank you for that. And that's from the heart, from me and my family. So thank you.
You're more than welcome. Okay. Captain?
I submitted. Oh, you got a sheet tonight. I submitted.
It's always good to surprise them, huh? Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor
Good evening.
and Vice Mayor,
Good evening.
members of the council,
Good evening.
and all of you in your respective places. Once again, good evening. Want to go over a few things. First, we'll discuss the PAL program. PAL Golf has started as of Saturday. We've had some good participation, and the kids all came out to the First Tee Golf Course, which is in Dyer Park. We still have some openings. Up to, I believe, 14 kids are allowed. So if you know of any child that's elementary school age, we'll be happy to have them. Which brings me to our football program. Our flag football program, our first game will be Friday at 6 o'clock at Westgate Community Center. If you can, it would be nice if you can show up and show your support. Now, with that being said, we are still recruiting, and those ages for the flag football program are between the ages of 12 and 14, middle school age kids. So
The golf is from what age?
the golf are ages 8 and up. Okay, and again, our first game will be this Friday at 6 o'clock at
the Westgate Community Center. I hope you can all make it. The District 2 Crime Initiative continues. I know that you've been seeing additional marked and unmarked patrol cars in your area. And with that, we've been also taking on some additional traffic issues, such as the parking of tractor trailers on Australian Avenue in the left turn lane, blocking vehicular traffic. That has been addressed through traffic and our commercial motor vehicle enforcement section, as well as patrol. We're also addressing some issues at 45th and Australian, safety issues such as seat belts, pedestrian violations, and anything safety related. And we're also looking at 45th and South Place, which it's been a real issue with red light running and blind spots. So I spoke with the town manager and advised them that we will be increasing enforcement in that area. Now, with that being said, are there any questions? Yes, sir.
I have one right there. 45th and South Place. If you get somebody turning southeast on 45th Street at the red light coming out of Renmore, there's people that's going around. That person is going left. Because my daughter almost had a head on when she came to visit us last week. She went to turn in South Place coming east on 45th. And somebody jumped out behind the car waiting to go right for them.
And I know that you're telling the truth on that because you know I do daily patrols through there, and I had a person actually do that. And they were surprised when they were lit up as a result of making that illegal turn. So that is definitely one of the issues that we're addressing.
She almost had a head on and T-bone at the same time.
Wow. So, yeah, the aggressive driving that's coming out of 45th and South Place, that's definitely one of our target issues. So, and as far as the issue with Giller, now I have been in discussions with the town manager as far as speed bumps. So that is something that's on the table. So you didn't put me on the spot. So we are looking into that, and if you could give me a time on when that issue is occurring, I'll put a motorcycle or two out there or a marked unit, and we'll address that lickety split. So you can get with me immediately after the council meeting, and we'll address that for you. All right. Are there any other questions?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
If they could put a officer at 46th and Mangonia Drive, they could write tickets all day long. Nobody stops at that stop sign. And when I went home, I think I was at the grocery store or whatever, and I stopped at the stop sign and the guy blew his horn, passed me, gave me the finger, and just right through the stop sign. And was blowing his horn and all of that because I stopped at a stop sign. I mean, they don't ever stop at that. And I've been off quite a bit lately, so, you know, I'm out there, you know, they just right through. They don't even stop. They don't even slow down. Just go.
45th and, Mangonia Drive has also been a topic of our conversation as well.
Well, they speed up down.
So we'll address it.
When they were talking about the speed bumps, they needed another one coming off 45th Street.
Yeah.
Because they come down off 45th Street, they don't even slow down when they make that turn.
We'll address it.
And I got my grandson, I kept telling him, I said, don't just back your car out there. I said, they'll run over. They'll run over. They don't care.
So we'll address that. Any other issues, questions, concerns, anything?
Thank you
that
for your
we can-
service.
Thank you so
Put
much.
an unmarked
Thank you for your support.
I have a question for you.
unmarked,
You knew it was coming?
unmarked cars, put unmarked.
I appreciate the information you gave us at the last meeting about the sound, meters or decimal, I don't know what device was that called, to detect the sound of the music and where it's affecting the neighborhood, what is that called? Decimals. Now, does that decimal record also the beat, not just the, because there's cars that go by with this deep beat, 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 beat that's going on. It doesn't have a tone to it, it's just the deep beat, the beat bass.
The bass.
Alrighty, okay.
Jake went back and forth addressing loud music coming from vehicles, because at one time, it was, a traffic offense, and then that was taken off the books, and now it's back on the books. Now, as far as the sound goes, I believe your ordinance addresses it by feet. So not so much as a sound meter that's needed. If I'm standing in Bryn Mawr and I can hear it at 53rd Street, that's well over 100 feet. So that would definitely be addressed. So our deputies are being educated on that. So, and the town manager and I have been in consultation concerning that issue. And I believe the town is taking steps to hopefully ensure that that doesn't happen again. But if it does, we'll be ready.
Yes, I know you're working on the interference of the music in the park into the community. But I'm talking about these cars that have these terrible bass beats.
Well, the statute provides that within a certain amount of feet or
Okay.
within a certain area, the driver can be cited for loud music.
Okay, still
Okay.
considered loud music, okay. Thank you.
Alrighty,
If it's shaking your window, it's
Yeah.
probably loud.
okay. Well, Captain, thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thanks so much.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, Amity?
Thank you for
Nothing
your-
specific, sir, thank you.
Okay, David?
No, sir, nothing to add. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. We'll come now to see if there's any comments or questions.
I just have something brief. I just want to say, as members of the dais and the community, we take an oath to serve and to protect, most importantly, be transparent. And we just need to be more respectful and mindful, especially when it comes to emotional and communication intelligence, when dealing with issues, concerns, or speaking on any issues, or communicating with any council members, whether on or off the dais, or anyone in particular. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman McConnell?
No.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
I'm just looking forward to your support on Saturday morning, 7 o'clock, so we can make our treks. We usually walk the middle area of Mangonia Park from the shopping center, just the west side of Presidente, down 45th Street to the corner, and then Australia to the community center. And we
Bring the
have
tambourines and the
very good
drums.
support from PDSO to guarantee that we have safe passage as we walk.
Alrighty, thanks so much again, and that's Saturday at,
We'll start walking at 7, so we
7.
assemble at 6:30, so we can get our signs and get our walking orders.
okay, alrighty, thanks so much. Councilwoman Quance Davis?
Oh, I'd just like to say, sunshine law don't allow us to call or talk to each other about certain things. So certain things you may want to say to a person, you can't. So you have to just keep it to yourself because of the laws. So out of respect, if you call me, I'm not going to talk to you because I can't if we can't discuss it on the dais. That's all I have to say.
Okay, alrighty, so let's just kind of see that, and I'll have perhaps call on our attorney because I think I'm hearing something here. So my 30 seconds is simply this, that We've all gone through the EMU classes and various other classes, and they teach you in terms of confidentiality and sunshine law and all of that, and we have to be attentive to that. For instance, if one of you go to a meeting and another person shows up from the same collegiate body, this body here, at that point in time, if I was there and I was actually presenting and you showed up, I just asked, can you, and I'll have the town manager call you, can you? Right, and so hopefully we learn each other so that we know the nuances and so forth, that we're at that point, so let's stop. Right, one of the things is that if there's an item related to the town, right, you can talk to each other about school and going to the pool and all of that, but if it relates to your job here, your task here as a legislative member, then of course you can't do that. You just let the person know that, hey, I'm sorry that might come before us, so I don't want to violate the sunshine. Let's talk about that in the open, on the dais, and we'll go from there. One thing to remember is that if indeed you make a mistake, and mistakes happen in life, if you make a mistake, fix it, right? And you'll speak with the town manager, who will speak with the attorney, and you fix it. Because the last thing in the world you want is somebody to say that we be colluding. We have some municipalities where that kind of happens. It has never happened here, right? And it's not going to happen because we pay attention to the rules and the regulations and the laws. So it's a real simple thing. In short, if it's a town-related issue, then just don't talk to that other person. That's the safest way to do it.
Council
Okay?
person.
The other council person, I'm sorry. Okay?
Yes,
Talk to the town manager.
We'd be glad to talk to the residents, but we can't.
Residents, yes, and the town manager, okay, not to each other. That's the simplest way to put it. Okay, that was my 30 seconds, and so at this time, there's nothing else for the good of the order. Motion for adjournment.
I so move.
Second?
Second.
Okay, has been properly moved and second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Have a great evening, and thanks to everyone who came out and participated. We appreciate it, and have a great evening.
Have a good night. Nice to see you. Sorry. No, nice to see you.